President Biden putting his spin on soaring inflation. He argues disposable income among Americans is actually up due to new forms of government assistance.
New York Congressman Claudia Tenney here to react. Prices, though, Congresswoman, up 6.2% October of last year versus October this year. Does Biden not understand economics, or does he not care that the free money he keeps pumping into this system is just driving the cost of everything up?
Once again, we're in the ridiculous situation where Republicans are complaining about things in the most ridiculous way, while Joe Biden is running around trying to tell everybody that everything is fine.
He shows he doesn't have any respect for the middle class, which is vitally important to the future of our nation, and his policies prove it. First of all, he put in the American Rescue Plan, almost $2 trillion. A lot of it went to waste, to fraud, abuse, and much of it was unspent, but caused this inflationary problem that we're having, which is why real wages have actually gone down.
And these Republicans are unironically trying to undermine basically one of the only good things that came out of the Biden administration, which was some of the stimulus money that came to people, some of the benefits that came to people that was a response to coronavirus. Republicans are trying to turn around and say that that was a bad thing. That's what's causing all of this inflation. And Joe Biden a couple weeks ago lent credit to that argument. We're in such a topsy-turvy land that even the fundamentals of how our economy works are completely hidden from the general public. They keep pretending that the government has this balanced budget, that it needs to balance inputs and outputs, when that is fundamentally not how it works. That's not how it's ever worked. Because, think about it for a minute. What they're saying is, oh, poor people being able to afford groceries during the pandemic, that's going to cause inflation. What they think is bad for the economy is working class people having a little extra cash. That is what these Republicans unironically think is bad for the economy. And the Democrats are not doing much to oppose that line of thinking. Because what is really happening right now is a capital strike. You see, these big businesses don't want to pay people more, so they would rather deal with not having enough staff and shutting down businesses than actually hiring people to do the job. And they can't find anybody that's willing to work for poverty wages. It's basically them playing a game of chicken, hoping that people get poor and desperate enough to come back to the workplace with much lower wages. And that ultimately is what is causing both the inflation and the stagnation in terms of job growth. It's the fact that these businesses are running a dual strategy of trying to squeeze the American people as much as they can with prices and denying them opportunity to actually get higher wages.
This bill also creates 150 new government programs which are going to be taxed with pensions and health care, and the middle class is going to have to pay for this with the huge amount, almost $2 trillion in new taxes, many of that affecting middle class, particularly small family farms, working businesses like ours, small businesses, sole proprietorships. This is going to be a huge drag on our economy, and he shows he doesn't respect that, and we're going to continue to see inflation.
And see, this right here is another point where you see the Democrats and Republicans both sharing responsibility for being horrible. You see, the Democrats will say, oh, we need to increase taxes. The Republicans will say, oh, we need to decrease taxes. But what matters a lot is on who? People making less than the cost of living, in my opinion, shouldn't be paying any taxes at all. So when it comes to poor people, Joe Biden should be talking about figuring out ways to make sure poor people aren't paying any taxes at all. And when it comes to rich people, Democrats should be saying, how can we squeeze every single penny out of them that we can? That combined strategy is what is fundamentally necessary for our economy to get going. Because when you tax rich people, it turns out that limits their ability to manipulate the economy, and it creates a lot more demand for cash relative to things like stocks and bonds, which promotes economic growth and actual productive labor. It's what stimulates employment.
Yeah, that's right. And we have a poll here. It says, will President Biden's spending bill make inflation better or worse? 43% say worse. And, we talk a lot about the money in this Build Back Better bill. Americans are getting free money. Of course, there's no such thing as free money. And a lot of this is going to come with higher taxes and taxes on corporations. When corporations get taxed higher, usually they make up that money in another way. Jobs go down. Are you concerned that if Build Back Better passes, some people could lose their jobs?
Okay, and with this last bit, we need to break down a couple very important lies. First and foremost, it's telling that they use a poll. The reason why they use a poll is because most Americans have basically no understanding of how the economy works at all, or how government budget works. They take that lack of understanding from the general general public to turn around and create propaganda to fuel even more misunderstanding. They're saying, oh, well, this bill is definitely going to cause inflation, even though there's literally no reason to believe that, because the Build Back Better plan creates a ton of jobs, and since productivity would increase relative to the money supply, you wouldn't see any inflation from that. But so they say, oh, well, all of these random people, they think there's going to be inflation, so that means there must be, right? And then there's the second lie, which in my opinion is one of the most heinous lies that Republicans give when it comes to the economy. This person here on Fox News is trying to say that increasing taxes on corporations would lead to a decrease in employment, literally saying, hey, if we increase taxes, you're going to lose your job, which is really just a veiled threat to poor people to say, don't you dare ask me to pay taxes. Because the ultimate reality that they won't tell you is that increasing taxes on corporations actually increases employment.
It's really unfortunate that they don't understand basic economics.
You see, the thing is, the cost of employees, that is, employees' wages and benefits, are all tax deductible things. So when a corporation gets taxed at a much higher rate, the relative marginal cost of hiring an additional employee is actually lower. It actually is more efficient for big businesses to hire more people when their tax rates are higher, because it is a way for them to increase the value of their company without that money going to the government. So increasing taxes actually creates an incentive for an increase in employment, because the employee benefits and cost of labor, etc., are all things that businesses can deduct for the most part. And those deductions are huge in terms of what a company can gain in terms of value without having to give money to taxes. So everything about this is a lie. But why would they lie about that? If it would be easier for the company to generate value as a company with higher taxes, why would companies still be against higher taxes? The answer to that is actually really simple. Rich people would actually prefer that you are poor. Rich people are rich relative to everybody else. And so the relativeness of their richness increases if you get poorer. So they don't have an incentive to lift Americans out of poverty. They are actually totally fine with that. In fact, they're so fine with it, they love the idea of so many Americans being in poverty that they are absolutely desperate and willing to take dirt wages. That is how the economy is running today. Giant companies are going out of their way to make sure that there's a constant stream of people who are chronically unemployed to serve as a reserve army of the unemployed to replace any worker that dares ask for higher wages. It is a machine to create desperation and poverty, all for the sake of a small handful of individuals becoming incredibly wealthy. And Fox News really is just a mouthpiece for the millionaires and billionaires that want to see poor people struggle. The most frustrating aspect of all of this is that there's not really much opposition from Democrats, and there's not really much explanation from Democrats about how and why everything they said right there was a lie. It's fundamentally irresponsible for Democrats not to challenge the nonsense economic mythology that these Republicans believe in. Because the truth is, even a lot of Democrats, most Americans, believe in the mythology of the US economy and the balanced budget, which allows Fox News to go out and threaten workers, saying if we increase taxes on corporations, then you're gonna lose all your jobs. And really, I'm just sick of it. This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to stay up to date with my content.